sure that Ohio was not just energy independent, but that Ohio was energy dominant in the United States of America. And ladies and gentlemen, there is one man running for governor that has my complete and total endorsement, that believes these same values and these goals. He will be the next governor of the state of Ohio. Please welcome to the stage my friend Vivek Ramaswamy, the next governor of the state of Ohio.
Give Robert Sprague another round of applause. He's going to be a great Secretary of State. Legendary, I think, in our state. They give me another mic, Robert, so you warm the other one up for us. Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, thank you. There you go. I know many people have been recognized and were asked to stand, and I know, thank you for the warm welcome for standing up just now, but I'm going to ask a special group of people also to stand up in this room who I'd like to recognize tonight. Can anybody who is a veteran and is a veteran of the United States military stand up tonight? We want to recognize you as well. Thank you. Thank you for your service to this country. We've got your back, and we're never going to let you down. One of you who I met in particular, I see you in the back there. Can you stand up again, sir? My conversation with you reminded me to do that today. What's your name again, sir? Jeff. Jeff, thank you. Jeff told me a story. Jeff's a veteran. He served in the Army for over 20 years. But the way Jeff spends his time now is, give him a round of applause. He deserves it. Over 20 years, I think it was 22 years he served in the Army. I was chatting with a few beforehand. So Jeff told me what he does now. I asked him, what do you do? He said, I actually drive my fellow veterans to make sure they're able to make it to their medical appointments. So think about that, a veteran serving other veterans. That's the best of what our country is made of. Jeff, I mean, the conversation impacted me. I was thinking about it even in the short time we had during dinner. Next year is going to mark the 250th anniversary of the United States of America. The signing of the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, 1776. July 4th, 2026. That's what's coming next year. And one of the things I'd like to do, and I'd like our state to lead the way, is to remember the stories of our American history, our heritage, that led to the signing of the greatest document and mission statement for a nation in the history of mankind. Your story, Jeff, reminded me of two other veterans that America had in the aftermath of the American Revolution. So everybody remembers George Washington, and appropriately so, but we often forget his other two great generals who served by his side, Henry Knox and Nathaniel Greene. Those were his two fellow generals who led us to victory in the American Revolution. And they had a very interesting relationship. And Jeff, you remind me of Henry Knox, and I'll tell you why. Nathaniel Greene, not a lot of people know this. We talk about taking care of our veterans today, and we will. It's an older problem that we have in our country as well, because he ended up aging as a veteran destitute. It's interesting because he led us to victory in the American Revolution. How did that happen? Turned out we were short on equipment when we were fighting the British, and he took out personal debts in his own name because we didn't have anything that a bank would lend against for the American Revolutionary warriors. He ended up taking out his personal name for the military to be able to buy equipment, and he had so much debt on his shoulders that he ended up being destitute after the Revolution, after the new nation was formed, all the way through the Constitutional Convention. And his fellow veteran, Henry Knox, went out of his way to make sure that he was actually secured plots of land in the southeastern part of our country to repay those debts, and tried to help his fellow veterans stand on his feet. And Jeff, I just want to tell you, in some ways we're thinking about the history of our country, you remind me of Henry Knox in many ways. And that's who we are at our best, is we're a country that isn't just built on a bunch of green pieces of paper. Yes, the American dream is about pursuing and achieving the maximum of your potential. But we're also a country that recognizes our fellow citizens are truly that. There are brothers and sisters in this country who we will lift up to achieve the maximum of their own potential as well. And Jeff, I just want to tell you, your story beforehand really inspired me, and thank you for giving me that strength tonight. So give Jeff another round of applause. We're counting on you to continue doing what you do. Last time I was in this part of the state for a dinner like this, we were in very different places in the country a few years ago. We went through a national identity crisis. Over the last 4 years, faith in God, patriotism, hard work, family, all but disappeared in so much of our country. Our young people in America were hungry for a cause, hungry to be part of something bigger than themselves. And yet many could not even answer what it meant to be an American. We're talking about service in the military. We had a 25% recruitment deficit in the U.S. military under the Biden years. Less than 16% of Gen Z under Biden said they were even proud to be an American. That was unacceptable to me. And that's why I spent the better part of last year traveling this country, doing whatever was required to make sure that Donald Trump was reelected as our 47th President of the United States. And in November, we got it right for the country. You got it right for the country. And now, where were you? You were just telling me right when we were singing the national anthem. Would you say, we're back? What's your name, my man?
I'm Dave.
Dave, yeah. We sang a great national anthem. Dave said, you know what? We're back. We are back, and we're here to stay. This is just the beginning of a new golden age in our country. I have never been more optimistic about the future of our country than I am right now. There's a new verve, a new enthusiasm. You can feel it, new energy, a new conviction in what it means to be a citizen of the United States of America. What does it mean to be an American? It means we believe in those ideals of 1776 that Henry Knox and Nathaniel Greene fought for. It means we believe in hard work and meritocracy and the pursuit of excellence. That you get ahead in this country, not on the color of your skin, but on the content of your character and your contributions. That's why we're done with the woke DEI agenda and affirmative action and racial quota systems, including in the state of Ohio with the passage of SB 1. I want to recognize Teresa Gavarone and Josh Williams and others who pushed that across the line here in Ohio in just recent weeks. What does it mean to be American? It means we believe in the rule of law. And I say this as the proud son of legal immigrants to this country. That means your first act of entering this country cannot break the law. And that is why, if we've had the largest influx of illegals into this country in American history, we should have the largest mass deportation in American history. It's not controversial. It's not racist or xenophobic. That's what it means to stand for the rule of law in the United States of America. It means the people we elect to run the government ought to be the ones who actually make the laws, not unelected bureaucrats in the Washington, D.C. deep state. It means that we as Americans are courageous, that we are brave, and at times even heroic, to do what is right for our country in our hour of need, as those generals did in 1776. As Donald Trump did last November when he won the presidency as our commander-in-chief. That's what it means to stand for this country. But saving this country, I will tell you this, it isn't a one-man job. It doesn't work that way. It never has. President Trump is doing his job in Washington, D.C., but if we are going to actually be saved as a nation, it is going to be because every one of us, every one of you, steps up to save ourselves. And the next step of saving this country shifts from Washington, D.C. back to the states and to the people where it actually belongs. Look what happened with the Department of Education 2 weeks ago. We shut it down. Started that process at long last. And we're sending education back to the states and to the people. But that means it's going to take leadership at the level of our 50 states to actually get the job done. The golden age for America will be a golden age for federalism. So President Trump, he's reviving our conviction in America. But we need a leader here at home in Ohio who revives our conviction right here in our own home state. And that's why I declared in the month of February my run to be the next governor of a great state at the heart of the greatest nation known to mankind. The state where I was born and raised, where I'm raising my two sons today, the next governor of the great state of Ohio, and we're going to get the job done. We're not just going to lead Ohio to become one of the better states in the Midwest. because frankly, we are one of the better states in the Midwest. I'm proud of that. But we want to build on that foundation to lead Ohio to the next level. We don't want to just be one of the better states in our region. I want to lead Ohio to be the top state in the country to raise a young family, to give your kids a world-class education, to start and grow a new business, generate wealth in this state, and keep your wealth, to give your kids the tools not to be victims but to be victors in a competitive global economy where we embrace capitalism and meritocracy without apologizing for it, where we take a hatchet job to red tape, regulations, government bureaucracy, and government overreach, where we lead in the sectors of the future, from aerospace to AI to semiconductor production. The state where patriots across this country flock to, not just Florida or Texas. I want to lead Ohio to be the state of excellence in America. And to those who say that's unrealistic, you know what I tell them? It's not. Because it wasn't long ago that Ohio actually was that state. So you got a lot of younger people on the internet today. They have a little meme where they like to make fun of Ohio if something's a little old or outdated. They say only in Ohio. You can see it on TikTok. For those of you who have an inclination to go on there. And it irritates me, actually, because it wasn't long ago that people weren't making fun of Ohio. They were aspiring to be Ohio. At the turn of the last century, we were the wealthiest state in the Union. We were the third most populous state in America. An economic powerhouse at the heart of the nation, with fertile farmland, great natural resources underneath our ground, the leading edge of the first industrial revolution. Even in the 1950s, that wasn't that long ago, even in the 50s, 6 of the top 15 wealthiest cities in America were right here in Ohio. Toledo, west of where we are right now, was the glass capital of the world. Akron, the rubber capital. Cleveland, Youngstown too, east of where we are, the steel capitals of the world. Dayton, where I was yesterday, the computing power engine that powered the entire Industrial Revolution. My hometown of Cincinnati was a consumer products capital, known in the West as Porkopolis, providing the food supply for the United States of America. Known around the world as the Queen City. We were the pioneers, the explorers, the unafraid. The people who no bureaucracy or government would dare stop from achieving the maximum of our God-given potential. The state of the Wright brothers, where they took flight, where they had the confidence to grow up in Dayton, Ohio, to know they would lead the way to the blue skies. The state of Neil Armstrong and John Glenn, the first men to walk on the moon, the first American to go into orbit, were born, raised, and lived right here in Ohio, where they achieved what was thought to be the impossible for humanity. That's who we were. We were the state of excellence in America. And we can be that state again, because if you think about it, we have all of the same natural advantages we did the first time around. The same fertile farmland, the same great natural resources, including oil and gas right underneath our own ground. A great geographic position. The Erie Canal to New York City, the same Ohio River to the Mississippi. In fact, today, we have 60% of North America's population, not just America's, North America's population, within a single day's drive of where we're having dinner right now. God has blessed our state with every gift we could possibly wish for to be the state that leads America back into our golden age. All we have to do is to start believing in ourselves again to actually do it. We're in the middle of a second industrial revolution around the world right now. And I believe deep in my bones that Ohio can be the state that leads the way again. If it was Silicon Valley that led the way in the last 10 years, it will be the Ohio River Valley in the next 10 years. You mark my words on that. That's what's ahead for Ohio. Out with the Rust Belt, in with the Platinum Belt. And I'll be frank with you about this. It may not be the same sectors as last time around. Another hardworking gentleman, if you're still here, I'd like you to stand up. He was wearing a great T-shirt. I love the quote on his T-shirt. He said, "My history is not my destiny," which I thought was a beautiful sentiment. It may not be rubber the next time around for Ohio, but I think it's going to be the sectors of the future. It's going to be semiconductor production, to nuclear energy, to Bitcoin, to biotech, to our defense industrial base. The state where we use AI not to take jobs, but to make jobs through workforce training and education. This is where I'm going to lead our state. This is our modern-day Northwest Ordinance right here in Ohio. We are a conservative state, and it is time for us to finally be governed like one. That will not lose us elections. It will win us elections. Thank you. It'll win us elections because it's going to put more money in your pocket, because it's going to lift up more people in every part of this state, from the inner city of Toledo to the foothills of Appalachia, lift us up from poverty. It'll be what gives us and our kids greater civic self-confidence in our history and who we are as a people, as Americans, and as Ohioans. And it'll be because that's what causes more patriots across this country, from New York to California, and frankly from Texas to Florida, to move back to the state of Ohio, including so many of our sons and daughters who have left our state to pursue opportunity elsewhere. They're going to come back here if we're governed according to the principles that most people across our state actually share in common. And I do believe that that's going to require a new generation of leadership in our state. Caleb, you're part of that generation. We're counting on you. You're the next one coming up. But I think it's going to require new leadership at every level. Robert, I'm looking forward to working with you as the Secretary of State, reviving that sense of civic pride. Teresa, Josh, so many of you who are going to be colleagues. A new generation of leaders, not just for the Republican Party, but for all of Ohio, to serve every person in this state, to run through any obstacle that stands in the way, to do it with the conviction that we're not just serving one set of people or even one political party, but our entire state when we do it. There are some changes required. Not going to claim all of it's going to be easy, but it's what's going to be required to lead our state to be the top state in the country. We have a population decline problem in our state. We don't have leaders who have acknowledged this enough. I think this is the number one challenge we're going to face in our state in the next 10 years unless we do something about it. We have a shrinking population. We're having fewer children. Our fertility rate, especially in my generation, is lower than it's ever been. 2024 marked the lowest fertility rate in Ohio's history. And yet our death rate is actually higher than it's been in most of our history as well, because we tend to have an aging population. We also now have more people leaving our state than coming into our state. That's new for us. Again, it's the first time in our state's history that that's consistently happened. And then you look at the people who are leaving our state. So I'm a data guy. I like to get into the numbers. Who's leaving our state? Who's coming in? Tends to be younger, college-educated people who are leaving our state. The people coming in, we love them, but they're from our neighboring states. Many of them tend to be not only older, but on government assistance when they come from our neighboring states of Kentucky and West Virginia. And that creates a bit of a demographic challenge for our state. We have 11 million people in our state. If we had a boom of patriots moving in and we're over 15 million people, as I believe we will be by the time I'm done with 2 terms as governor, we have an economic boom of a kind we have not seen in this state. How are we going to do it? We got to make this the state where you are able to generate, earn, and keep your wealth. It is your money, not the government's. And that is why I will tell you, as your next governor, we will eliminate the income tax in the state of Ohio. That is who we are, and we will compete with the rest of the country to attract the very best to our state. It's not just the income tax. We're also going to put a ceiling statewide on the property taxes that are crippling Ohioans across our state. It's wrong. It's unjust. And it needs to end. You have people in our state. I meet you. We were in Ironton at the southern tip of our state last night. We're here at the northern coast of our state today. People across this state are paying as much in their property taxes as they are on the principal and interest payments on their mortgage. It starts to feel a lot like the land that you own is really just a lease from the government. That's what it feels like. It's unjust. It's anti-American. It's antithetical to our values here in Ohio. And I believe we need a statewide cap. Caleb, I know this is one of the issues you're passionate about. A statewide cap on the percentage of your land that can be assessed as a property tax. And there's one more common sense reform we're going to deliver. I don't think anybody could argue with this one. People don't know what they're voting for when they vote for the increase in the property taxes, okay? Now, part of this, I'll get to this, we have an educational achievement issue in America. Eighth graders aren't doing math at the level we need. But we don't make it particularly easy for you at the ballot box. When you're talking about millage, I mean, let's be really honest. Who in this room really knows what millage really is about? 20 mil this or that. Robert Sprague does. Okay, he's the treasurer. He should know. But most people, when they're voting for that increase in the property tax, they're shocked then when they actually get the property tax bill. So I will require, as your next governor, that any time there is a proposal to hike the property tax at a local level, we will require that it tells you if you own a $100,000 house or a $200,000 house or a $400,000 house or a $500,000 house. It will tell you exactly how much in dollar value your property taxes are going up, which will make sure that they're not actually going up because none of those ballot measures are going to pass. Basic common sense reforms. We need to reduce the regulatory barriers to new business formation. One of the major crises that we're otherwise facing, we have our demographic issue in the state. The other crisis we're about to face that nobody's talking about, and to tell you the truth, I worry about this. As your next governor, this is going to fall on my lap, and I'm ready for it, but it keeps me up at night, is that we have a looming electricity shortage of crisis proportions coming to our state unless we actually change course. And I'll explain to you why. Now, people might notice their electricity costs have gone up a lot over the last decade. But that's nothing compared to what's coming in the next 5 to 6 years. Because right now, we have an AI data center boom in our state. That's a good thing. I'm in favor of it. And we have a boom in other areas as well. But AI data centers in particular are using a lot of our power from our electric grid, more than we've ever had of demand of power from our electric grid. Yet that comes at precisely the time in our state's history when base load power generation, the basic power that powers the electric grid, is on short supply because of the left's political war on coal and natural gas. That math doesn't add up. So if you want to roll that forward 5 years, it means that electricity costs could quadruple for people living in the state. You roll that forward 7 to 8 years, we're looking at rotating power outages in this state. It's actually very personal to me. My dad came from a rural village in southern India, and he would reluctantly, we were as kids, we would reluctantly be dragged by him on summer break when we were in second, third, fourth grade to go see what was really a third world village. Back then they had rotating power outages there, and I think he wanted us to see it, where the refrigerator would work 8 hours a day. You turn on the lights, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It works for about 8 hours. Your milk goes bad in the morning unless you plan to drink it at the right times of day. That's what it was like. And we would come back to Westchester, Ohio, where I grew up. And we didn't grow up wealthy, but we grew up squarely middle class. We were so grateful that 10 times out of 10 in the state of Ohio, when I turned on my light switch, the light actually came on. 10 times out of 10, the milk hadn't gone bad overnight in the refrigerator because you chose to drink it the next morning. Now, the irony is, in those villages in India that my dad took me to, they don't even exist anymore. It's like Domino's Pizza, air conditioning, and power 24/7 over there. What a shame it would be if 30 years later we have rotating power outages right here in the greatest country known to man, where we already have them actually, by the way, in California. So this is a serious issue. Nobody's addressing it. Here's how we're going to make sure that doesn't happen. We're actually going to use that challenge as an opportunity to harden our electric grid and the power of this state, not just for the next 10 years, but for the next century. By getting the natural gas out of our ground, refining it in the state, building pipelines in 6 months or less by bringing the permitting process down from 36 months to 6 months, the timeline to get permitted for a power plant down from 6 years down to 6 months, using coal, natural gas, oil, and yes, small modular nuclear reactors, where our state, under my leadership, will lead the way for the United States of America. And this is practical stuff, right? This is not the stuff of just, red meat political warfare. This is the stuff of actually leading our state back to greatness, address the population decline, address the electricity shortage problem looming over our state. There's one that's particularly near and dear to my heart that's perhaps the most important of all, which is to address the educational achievement crisis in our country. And I don't use that word crisis lightly. Okay? It's a bleak moment when you look at the hard facts. Right now, 75% of 8th graders are not proficient in math. You have kids in other countries where English isn't even their first language doing better on English proficiency than our own students here. An average student in China is a full 4 years ahead by grade level versus an average student in the United States. Think about that. For those of you who have kids, that means a 7th grader here is performing at the equivalent level of a 3rd grade student in China. That's unacceptable to me. Speaking as a parent of 2 sons, as an Ohioan, as an American, I refuse to just stand by and watch as China laughs at our gradual decay into oblivion. No, we're going to turn this ship around. We're going to get it right and lead the country and lead the world in giving our kids a world-class education in math, reading, writing, critical thinking, financial literacy, physical education, civic education here in Ohio. Robert, you're going to be an important part of that. I think it's the Secretary of State's job isn't just about casting the ballots. It's about reviving civic pride. It's an act of citizenship casting that ballot. You got to know what you're voting for. You got to be able to read, to understand, read the English language, to know what that means, and that starts with our schools. Yes, we're going to take our school choice programs to the next level, as Iowa and Arizona have, because every parent deserves to have the choice of the best possible school for their kid. That is the civil rights issue of our time, and we will fight to the end for it in our state of Ohio. But I've also traveled a lot of parts of the state where the choices, even if we did go that distance, the choices don't quite yet exist. And that means there's no other choice than also making sure our public schools are equipped to compete with the best of those alternatives. We're going to fix every piece of this one by one. We're going to set a national standard. I'll call it the Ohio standard, if we may, for the rest of the country. Start with safety. We're going to take our dedicated base of police officers and make sure we have at least one of them in every public school in this state, because we deserve to protect our children in our own schools with the proper training needed to be there. We're going to address the chronic absenteeism problem in our state that has become really an epidemic since the COVID-19 school closures. I will make you this commitment. As your next governor, never again will we bend the knee to a fake Anthony Fauci knockoff who allowed our public schools to be shuttered while some private schools actually managed to remain open. She owes those kids an apology. They'll never get those years of their education back, but the next generation of kids will never be subjected to that again. We're going to stand for the achievement of our students, from the sports fields to the classroom, in every domain where we celebrate success and excellence in the basic subjects. And that means we require public school teachers who are actually able to live the American dream in a way that's not possible today. If you believe that this is a 5-alarm fire in the United States, as I do, I count our public school teachers amongst our first responders, if you think about it that way. And is it really possible to live the American dream on a $40,000 public school teacher salary while you're also having kids as a principal breadwinner? I don't think so. But that means that our best teachers deserve to be paid more, but it also means that we need to stop wasting money in the other places where our public schools are squandering it. Allocate it to classroom instruction based on meritocracy, based on performance, and reward the very best teachers as they deserve to be. I haven't figured it out yet. That appears to be a very controversial idea. But to me, it's a common sense revolution coming not only to America, but coming right here to Ohio. We spend over 70% of dollars, for example, in Cleveland Public Schools, on things other than classroom instruction, where the top factor outside of the family, the top factor that affects a student's performance, big surprise, is actually the quality of his teachers. So it's not about how much money. This is the Democratic solution. Throw more money at the problem. What have we seen? The more money we've thrown at those public schools in our state, the worse they've actually performed in our inner cities. The schools that spend the most money per student are the ones performing worst on a per-student basis. It's not about how much money, it's about how you spend that money. And I want to spend that money to invest in the best of our teachers so they're able to live the American dream, and Ohio becomes a magnet for the best educators across the country. Because I don't mean this as good news, but I don't know if it's bad news or good news. None of the other states are getting this right either. And so we have an opportunity to lead the way in the United States of America, to show the rest of our country how it's done. And maybe for once we're going to have Florida and Texas following our lead along the way. So that's what we can expect in the next few years in Ohio. And that lays the foundation then for making sure that we're also leading in higher education. I say this as somebody I went to Princeton Public Schools through 8th grade. I went to St. X Jesuit School in Cincinnati for high school. I went to Harvard for college. I went to Yale for law school. I've been educated at some of the best institutions, or at least they used to be, okay, in the country. And you know what? I'm actually very proud of that. I'm grateful to this country for giving me that opportunity. My wife lived the American dream. She's a throat surgeon at Ohio State at the Cancer Hospital. She's lived her version of the American dream. She's proud of that. I'm proud of her for it. But we also recognize that our path cannot be the only path to live the American dream. And I want our state to also be a state where every son and daughter of Ohio who wants to be a welder or a mechanic or an electrician or a plumber or a carpenter or a machine operator has that same paved path to the American dream as well. I don't call them the trades, I call them professions, because that is what they are, deserving the same degree of respect and dignity as somebody who goes on to be a lawyer or a banker. It's not a game of either or. And I think, frankly, both sides make this mistake a little bit in opposite directions. On one hand, you have the people who say, okay, only it's four-year college degrees or you don't really have a proper education. No, that's wrong. It's not that one's bad and the other's good. And it's not the game either that we sometimes can fall in the trap of saying, oh, they're the elites. No, we're all elite, actually. It's actually, we're proud of that. I want Ohio to be the top state in the country for every young man and woman in this state who wants to become a lawyer or a doctor or a finance professional or a computer programmer or an entrepreneur, to be able to do that by pursuing an education at the best possible universities in our own home state of Ohio, while also being the state while every young man and woman who wants to become that welder or electrician or carpenter also has that best path through vocational education in Ohio. The state where the paths to success are plural, where every path is open to every child. That is what a true meritocracy is actually about. A nation that recognizes that every one of us, every one of you, has your own unique God-given talent, distinct from every other person in the world, actually. And that we are the country where you get to achieve the maximum of your own God-given potential without any man or bureaucracy or system standing in your way. That is what a true meritocracy is about. That is what the American dream is about. That is what the pursuit of excellence is about. That's what America is about. That's how we made America great the first time. And that is how we will make Ohio great again. This isn't just about our GDP. The American dream is about more than green pieces of paper. It's about reviving conviction in our purpose as citizens. I want to lead our state to be the state of the cradle of the American dream, right here in the center of our own country. The state where kids who grow up here don't have to be spiteful to somebody else for their success because they're participating in it with real skin in the game. As I said, I'm a father of two sons, and my message to them tonight, and my message to every son and daughter of Ohio tonight, is that the American dream is your birthright. A world-class education is your birthright in Ohio. Success is your birthright in Ohio. Freedom is your heritage, and excellence is your destiny. This isn't a small vision for our state. It is an ambitious vision. I'll admit that, because that is who we really are as Ohioans and as Americans. We're not victims. We're victors. We don't whine. We win. When we rally behind the cry to make America great again, we hungered for the unapologetic pursuit of excellence in America. And that's where we're going to lead our state. I'm not a career politician. It'll be for better and worse, right? We're going to be surrounded by people who have great experience in this state, but I'm a businessman. I've lived the full arc of the American dream at a scale that my parents could have never imagined when they came to this country 45 years ago with no money. to Westchester, Ohio. I've achieved what I really have no right to. I don't think about this as something I have a right to. I'm filled with gratitude to this state and to this country for allowing me to live the life that I have. And I will fight every day to pass that on to our kids and their generation. We will fight to the end for this state. I'm visiting all 88 counties this year. We're going to visit all 88 counties next year. And I'm going to visit all 88 counties every one of the next 8 years after that I serve as your next governor. Because I want to listen to you. I want to hear you. Sheriff Steve Lavorchik doing, where are you? Steve's in here. He's probably doing the rounds around the facility. He's actually taught me things that I didn't know about, the importance of training for our law enforcement officers, how we're actually able to stand for law enforcement in Ohio. I learned something from every one of these trips to every one of our counties across the state, and I'm grateful to you for it, because we don't want to govern from a bubble. And we don't want to just govern for Republicans either. I'm not going to compromise on our core conservative principles. No, we're going to stay true to those principles, but do it while building a Big Tent coalition that includes not just the many people in this room, but the even greater number of people who aren't in this room. Orphaned Reagan Democrats, libertarians, independents, anybody who finds themselves politically homeless in the state of Ohio. We're going to find a home for you if you care about giving your kids a world-class education. If you care about giving your kids the same shot at the American dream that this state and this country gave to me, then you know what? We're actually on the same team. And we may disagree on some small details, but we will have a seat for you at the table in this movement, and we will work with you to lead our state to the next level. Even those who run against me, I want your best ideas so we can take our state to the next level, to lead one Ohio to the future. We don't have to be a state in decline. We don't have to be a nation in decline. I believe that we are still actually a state in our ascent, still on our way to that shining city on a hill. That state, that country where we will look our kids in the eye and mean it when we tell them that you get ahead in the United States of America and you get ahead in the state of Ohio with your own hard work, your own commitment, your own dedication. And that you know what? You are free to speak your mind at every step of the way. So that 10 years from now, when our young people are making memes on the internet then, when we're sending manned rockets to Mars, when we're curing previously incurable genetic diseases with cures discovered here in Ohio, when we're powering our electric grid with the energy of the future, you know what they're going to say then? Only in Ohio. That's the state we know. That's the state we're about to revive. The state of the American dream. The state where we will regain our self-confidence to speak the truth and stand for it without apology every day. To stand for those ideals that Nathaniel Greene and Henry Knox fought for in 1776. That our veterans in the room today have defended with their honor and with their lives, to fight for that country and to preserve the ideals that birthed our nation 250 years ago as of next July. Those are the ideals that created this great nation. Those are the ideals that reunited us after our Civil War. Those are the ideals that won us 2 world wars in the Cold War. Those are the ideals that still give hope to the free world. And if we can revive those ideals over group identity and victimhood and grievance, then nobody in the world, not a nation, not a corporation, not a virus, not China, is going to defeat us. That is what American exceptionalism is all about, and that is what we will revive here in the state of Ohio to save our great republic. Thank you for coming out today, guys. God bless you and your families. May God bless our United States of America and our great state of Ohio. Keep fighting. This country is worth saving. Fight, 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 and we will save our nation and lead us to our best days still ahead of us. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good to see you, man. Congratulations. We got your back all the way. All right?
That's good.
If I can help you.